All right, everyone. I'm here with Deece Casillas, comedian. This dude's been on stages all over the world with his comedy special, Not Your Cup of Tea. He's also written some comic books and novels.
Yes,
So welcome, Deece Casillas.
good to be here,
Casillas.
man.
Sorry.
That's our Casillas.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Or you can mispronounce it. I don't want ice kicking down my door, so feel free to butcher it. Keeps me safer at the moment. It was actually Casillasburg. My family, dropped the berg when we came across over Ellis Island. So
Hey, I'm with you because my last name's Carbascio, and they shortened that whenever my great grandfather came in from Italy.
yeah,
They
well,
hacked that name up.
yeah, yeah. No, always got to change it up to fit in. So I'm just trying to make sure ice doesn't kick my door down. I'm too close to the border. It's a short trip. That's all right. I still got family down there. I got places to stay.
Hey, you have a pretty extraordinary story, man. Like you had a pretty good business going and you dumped it to go on the road to be a comedian.
Yeah, yeah. I had my own independent marketing consulting firm that I was running, and when I was still living in Long Beach, California, doing great. I'm like the it's just an idiot mostly. Most comedians are. But I just it was, life was good. Life was good except for I hated my what I did. So I was doing comedy and I was doing writing, and that's what I always loved, and I'm like, I think I'm just going to do this. And I quit my job and pursued what I wanted to do. And after, a couple years of meandering around, it finally worked. It took some time, but we made it happen.
So, did you write the novel first or did you start writing comedy first?
It's a little bit of both. It's a weird path. So I always wanted to be a writer. It's what I always loved doing, was just writing. And I used to write stuff all the time. And I had a notebook where I would write funny lines and funny concepts and things I thought were humorous, it was just like this is going to go somewhere someday. Like I'll use it as a line in a book or a show I write or some sort of conversation, because I love to write dialogue, right? And so I was kind of a lot of that ended up being the start of my stand-up comedy, because I realized I was like writing jokes. Like there was some massaging it and some editing, obviously, but I was writing jokes. So they kind of both happened at once. I mean, the book came before comedy was really fully taking off, but yeah, they were kind of happening simultaneously.
Yeah, I always thought of comedians even early on as you guys were like the original entrepreneurs, right? I mean, you guys go way back to there was probably prostitutes first, right? And then
I don't
and
know.
then
We
the
wore
kings.
ourselves out too. So, listen, you ever drive 5 hours to make $15 in a hot dog? It's basically the same. Those lot lizards got it good compared to what we're dealing with. So,
Well, and then the kings had their jesters way back when.
yeah.
I mean, as far as history goes, you guys go way back, man. And I've always been fascinated with your lifestyle and just coming up with fresh jokes all the time and not giving a shit about what people think is the biggest thing.
Yeah, yeah. A genetic propensity towards alcoholism and childhood trauma goes a long way towards building a good career in comedy. You have to kind of be able to not care what the masses are thinking or doing, because you want to be able to push against it. If you're really not that there's a right quote unquote way to do comedy, but in my opinion, if you want to do comedy, I think a lot of it is pushing against the narrative and counterculture, and to question what the status quo.
Are you a read the comments guy or not?
No, no, I'm not. I rarely I post and ghost every now and then, but even then, if I do come across some comments, I rarely engage. Yeah, unless it's positive, unless it's like a friend and it's a positive thing and joking. But I rarely go back to the comments. Just nothing constructive can come in. And also at the end of the day, I don't give a shit, right? Like I don't care what people think. So, there's like I don't care what anyone thinks. I mean, there's people I love and value their opinion, but if they decide they hate me, then that's their choice.
Yeah, you have to be that way. I just published a book. My wife just finished it, and I asked her what she thought about it, and she was like, "Well, I disagree with you on a few things in there, but," I said, "Well, everyone's got their own opinions.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't all agree on everything, or the world would be a really boring place."
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're moving towards that. They're trying to get us to agree on everything. It'll just be whatever they tell us we get to do that day, and we get to agree or not participate in society is kind of. They're like, yeah, it's whatever Peter Thiel decides we get to do that day. He's like, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna release this video and tell you why I think the Antichrist isn't that bad, and we're gonna, you're gonna just be in your cyber jail today. And if I tell you get to go out, you get to go out.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. The censorship is has gotten insane in the UK and other places, and people are going to jail for posting shit, and it's nuts.
Well, I mean, we're not that far from it here, That's the real crazy thing. I mean, there's this really big comedy writer and comedian. I forget his name, but he's from the UK, and he just got arrested over a couple tweets, went to jail, and that's it. We were real close to that. I think if not, I want to make this clear. Don't at me. I don't give a shit. Not that I'm a Trump supporter, but I think if we would have had that, if the election would have gone the other way, we would be in a very different country right now. As far as we'd be a lot closer to be getting arrested for what we say.
I think so too, man.
So,
Yeah, for sure. I think we're very fortunate that things worked out the way they did, and
well, fortunate might be. But but it depends on how you quantify fortunate, because in a vacuum I would say very unfortunate, as opposed to the option. I would say, you could uh go as far to say fortunate, but I think in a vacuum I would say still very unfortunate.
I don't I don't know that there's ever gonna be a great candidate ever again. You know
Well,
what I mean? Like,
there's not there, there's not there can't be when the big two have locked the system and don't allow third parties to get in. They literally move the goalpost every election to make sure that third parties can't be viable candidates, aren't even able to get into debates and things like that. It's like, oh, you need this many signatures. Oh, well, now you need this many. When you get 20,000, well, turns out you need 25,000. So sorry. And you've got these PACs that actually fund the debates and things like that keep out third party candidates. And yeah, so as far as that goes, this is why I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, who's definitely more liberal, and she was talking about how she would have voted for Kamala, and I said the same thing I've said to a lot of people when I was in an interview and someone asked me, gun to your head, who are you going to vote for, Trump or Kamala? And my answer was pull the trigger. But it's the God, I completely lost track of what I was going to say on that with I don't know. We'll get back to it. We'll figure it out. I lost track of where that was going.
yeah, well, you can bring that back. It's all right. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, it looks like you've been out on the road a lot.
Yeah.
And what's a cool story from the road? Do you have a cool lot lizard story, or what's I know you got something.
Well, I've got, here's the thing. Comedy is so weird because it's like this weird adjacent cousin. Like you ever see the original Pet Cemetery movie? You know, we comedy is like cousins, the sister Zelda, who has like spinal meningitis that they keep in the attic. We're like that to the family tree of show business, we're like this weird step cousin that creepy that nobody, it's like it's like yeah, technically it's under the umbrella, but we don't like to talk about it. And it's not near as glamorous as people think, because most, if you are not, I mean, I do this for a living. I'm lucky enough to make a living at it. I mean, lucky, it was a lot of hard work, but I'm one of the people that's fortunate enough to be able to make a living doing comedy. That alone is a monumental task. But it's still, you're still pretty low. I'm still not like a household name. People don't know who so I'm not like, it's not like I blow into town. I'm like, Deece Casillas is here, guys. Let's go. It's like we're still trying to, we still have to advertise to get people to shows. And so most of the stories I have involve, you know, probably like ladies who look like out of work lesbian truckers trying to take a swing on me on stage because, I made a joke they didn't like. Or I've done a couple Nazi skinhead bar shows that I've almost died at. Those are the ones that really stick out. And also, we're like, comedians we're such pieces of shit and such like self-loathing that we rarely remember the good shows. It's always just the bad stuff. That's the stuff that like we are united in. So yeah, I could tell you like stories of almost getting killed by some Nazis at a show I was at. It was in where the hell was I at? Colville, Washington, which is northeastern Washington. It's much closer to the Idaho border than it is to Seattle. Let's put it that way when you're talking about Washington State. I, so it was me and my buddy Tony, who is Korean. We go to the show. We show up there before the headliner. The headliner is a black guy from LA, and we'd never met him. He just booked us and we were meeting him there. And we show up, and my buddy Tony was like this gregarious dude, and he like walks up to the bar and he's like, "What's up, guys? Like, you guys here for the comedy show tonight?" And literally this guy turns around and just looks us up and down and straight up fucking gives us the Zig Heil, right? Like, right, like, right. And we're like, and I just go, "Oh shit." I go, this is, this is going to be one of those shows. So we're like, we just start doing the show. And then, the headliner shows up late because sometimes stereotypes are true. The whole time each of us is on stage, the rest of the comics are just like trying to stop white supremacists from rushing the stage and beating up the other guy, like who's on stage. I mean, we literally had a guy like with a pool cue, like beating it in the back of the bar, being like screaming the N words, trying to rush the stage. So we end up, there's these two big white kids, they were like corn fed farm kids. They're from Alaska and they were oil drillers, and they just loved us. And they're like, "You guys are funny." He goes, "We don't care what these guys want to do. You guys are with us tonight." And they both like pulled their coats back and had guns on their side. Like, he's like, "So don't worry, we're gonna be all right." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. This makes me a little more worried because I don't want to die in a shootout in Colville, Washington. You know, this is like not on my bucket list." So yeah, those are the type of things you remember in comedy. Those are the shows that go down in the memory banks. Ask me about a good show. I don't know. I mean, I've had a bunch. I couldn't tell you much about them. They come and go.
No, we always remember when we take a hunting trip and it rains all freaking week, or you go camping and you get flooded out, or your friend passes out and almost drowns or gets run over by a quad. Like, it's always those stories. That's the great stories we remember. So, and I get it, man, because I've always been different. I'm kind of a geek. I like dragons. I like ancient history. When I go to a family picnic and I start talking about the Anunnaki and ancient aliens, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm the alien for sure. Yeah. So I totally get it, man.
Yeah, they just
Like,
stop inviting you to yeah, I started talking about that stuff just so they'd stop inviting me to Christmas. Now I actually believe it. So, um, at first it's just a clever ploy for them to stop talk for my
well, I think, someone asked me the other day what my definition of courage was, and I said what my answer was if you're gonna do something, do that thing, even if you're bad at it, keep doing it, and keep doing it,
uh,
right? So that's getting knocked down and getting back up and trying it again. That's courage, right? And
I was gonna say having sex in Haiti without a condom, but I guess your answer is more inspiring.
that's gotta be dangerous.
That's courage, my friend. That's courage.
Yeah. Well, and it's also being who you are, right?
Yeah.
It's being who you are, not caring what other people think because, man, we're getting judged all the time. Everybody, all of us. Somebody's looking, somebody is thinking you're the Antichrist or whatever you want to call it. People, that getting, man, I'm so fortunate that I can't be offended.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my greatest qualities because I really don't care what people think of me. I don't care. And it doesn't matter. I just do whatever I want to do. And if you don't like it, that's fine. There's plenty of other podcasts you can listen to or people you can talk to or whatever. Just go ahead. But sadly, people can't grasp that today. They have to comment, they have to tell you their opinion, and everybody's
Yeah,
got one of those.
I think that it's very disingenuous. I mean, this is not a funny take, but I think it's just people masquerading as like these like people trying to masquerade as a brave, smart person when really they're just repeating things they heard in their algorithm. Everyone wants their feedback loop. That's all it is just like this feedback loop of what they want to hear and getting applause from their tribe, which part of me hates it, but from a genetic survival standpoint, it's kind of ingrained in us. It's ingrained in us to be ingratiated by the tribe, to because I mean before we still have this genetic DNA in us of like, hey, whoa, if we get kicked out of the tribe, like, you are probably going to die. You can't survive alone. So people still have this. It just manifests in a different way. It doesn't manifest in like, I better go help kill this woolly mammoth. It manifests in like, I better type a strongly worded message about how I feel about a country I couldn't even point out on a map. So it's like that's the type of way it's manifesting. So yeah, I mean it's a pain in the ass. It's ridiculous. It's disingenuous, but there is like an innate reason for it. That doesn't justify it. Fuck those people still, but it does exist for a reason.
This So just yesterday, I was looking at the story where the lady. Did you see the story about the baseball at a baseball game?
Yeah,
This guy hit the lady, steals the baseball off the kid.
sure. I mean,
Like,
they're in Philadelphia. Someone's gonna steal something. What do you people think people? It's yeah. Every car, half the cars in the parking lot got broken into. People, you guys are shocked the lady's stealing a baseball. Like, and that's you're in Philadelphia. That's your own fault.
well, and good for that kid because man, did they hook him up? He got an autographed bat and all kinds of cool shit out of that. So good for him.
Yeah.
Uh, he made out on that deal for sure. You have a comic book too.
I do. Yeah, I've got a comic book series called Kill Stan. Third issue is about to come out. It's lifelong dream come true to make it happen. I've always loved the comic book medium. As you can tell, this is all long boxes, or this is all comic books behind me.
My
Those are all filled with comic books. Yeah, that's just all. So it is.
holy shit, dude.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
DC or Marvel?
Mostly, if I have to claim, if I have to declare a major, it would be Marvel. But there's definitely some great DC stuff out there too. And there's a lot of independent, small press stuff that's been really. I mean, some of my favorite stuff is from other publishers also out there. So
Yeah, yeah, they all have some good stuff. Uh, Disney's destroying the Marvel stuff though, so
Well,
I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's once you have corporate overlords in anything, and it's an algorithm. You're creating by committee. Well, I mean, again, I've been a Marvel fan as my entire life, comic book fan my entire life. And when Disney bought Marvel in 2014, I mean, I said it then. I'm like, oh, this is the end. Like Marvel's this, it'll never be the same because you can't be owned by Marvel and someone like Disney and do what Marvel did. You can't do cutting edge stuff because you're trying to appease to everyone. So it's neither fish nor fowl, right? Like you become a nothing burger because you shoot straight down the middle to try to appease to everyone, and you end up appeasing no one. Uh, they just forgot. They don't realize that you know kids aren't reading comic books anymore. That's not the demographic. The demographic is people my age. Like that's your main demographic of people who are reading or buying comic books and are watching the movies and consuming the art. Kids now they've got anime. That's their thing. It's moved on. You're never going to capture the youth again. I mean, maybe you'll capture some, but that ship has sailed. They need to
Yeah,
focus on the demographic that does have the money and is coming to them. It'll never be the same. It'll never be as good.
that's what really shocked me because it's like Gen X, we're the people going out and watching these Marvel movies and stuff because we remember the superheroes as kids, but now they're not targeting us, they're targeting 10-year-olds.
Yeah. Yeah, and those people just aren't you're not gonna capture enough of them. You'll capture some, but you'll get some of them, but you're not gonna get enough to, make successful projects, right? Like, those, like, 10-year-old kids aren't clamoring to go see the Marvels or the Miss Marvel project, Which it's like and here's the thing, I mean, I'm one of those guys too where I'm like, I don't care that they're making that project because it's fine that they're making a project that's I'm not the demo for, right? What is frustrating is when they make those projects and then they're like, gee, why isn't this working? And they're like, because because that demo doesn't care. The demo you're shooting for doesn't care. If they were there, and for the ones that do enjoy it, I'm happy for them. I'm glad. It's like the Miss Marvel show. I always point to that. Like a bunch of all the fanboys were mad about it. I'm like, were you shocked that a show about a 13-year-old coming of age Muslim girl didn't fucking cater to you? You didn't think that was gonna what about that show screamed I'm a 40-year-old white guy that doesn't relate to this. Yeah, no shit. Like you're the one that's dumb for thinking it should have, right? And Marvel, Disney was dumb for thinking that was going to land with an audience. It's like maybe that just wasn't the project to make. The people who did like it, great. I'm glad I was there for you. But Disney, don't be surprised. It didn't work like you wanted it to. Fans, don't be surprised it wasn't for you.
Yeah, yeah. So you also have the social hour comedy that that's in like 21 states.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you manage that?
I do. Yeah. So the social hour is funny. It kind of started as the name of the podcast that I do, which I've been doing since 2014. I mean, I get into podcasting very early. We're about
Man,
500 episodes. I've done some spin-off shows that were kind of vignettes, some, limited run stuff. I mean, all in all, I've probably done 600 plus episodes of podcasting of my own shows. Yeah, I started before everyone had a podcast, but also I was doing events. We were kind of producing events. I lived in this town in city in Spokane, Washington at the time, and I was putting on events, comedy events, and just charity events. I worked with the downtown of to kind of this rejuvenation of downtown Spokane to do events and stuff. So I created a brand, and eventually it grew. And as it grew, and I was doing more comedy and booking more comedy, I just kept the name, the Social Hour Comedy, and then yeah, now we run shows in like probably 40 rooms in over like 20 21 states now. I think 20 21.
damn.
We're actively right now. Yeah.
That's great, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, just
Going
kinda
back,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, like, going back to people getting offended in your Nazi story, how being on the road all the time, how do you deal with that? I mean, like, it has to be just constant people judging and questioning your jokes, and how do you deal with that? Is that something you had to progressively get better at, or did you just always not give a fuck?
I mean, probably that last part. I mean, I just that last part the most. I never really gave a fuck. Like it's kind of a here's the thing, you can't just not give a fuck and do whatever you want to do in comedy. What you can, you're just not going to be successful, right? Like you at a certain point you do have to understand like you want to do your art, you want to do comedy the way you want to do it, but also, if people are coming to your shows, you do want people to walk away having enjoyed the show and people who want to see you again, because you can fool people one time to come see you, but if all you do is piss people off, it's going to be a short career, right? No one's going to book you, no one's going to come see you again. So, you kind of have to find a way to express yourself, but also walk the line where people have a good time. I mean, I still have people walk out of shows. I've got one joke that I call the Karen killer joke that usually about about 40% of the time I will get a middle-aged white woman to walk out of a show over this joke. Not 40%, 30%. But and I'll lose one 30% of the time. That's fine because it's a good joke and it gets a big pop. I get a lot of people laughing. So it's worth it to me. But like you do have to figure out how to get people to the audience to enjoy the show. And that's kind of the start of your set, I'm usually fishing a little. I've got a couple jokes that I do that are kind of testing the waters, I call it, or I call to kind of see what they bite on and what they don't. And you've got to be ready to where if you're going down a path and they're not riding with you, you've got to be able to massage that to where they will ride with you, or you got to be able to change course. So people walk away having a good show. I mean, there's certainly times where I've just said fuck it and it burned the bridge and fucking nuked it all, burned it all down because I'm like I'm never coming back to Butte, Montana. Fuck this place, or something. But it's I don't like to do that and I don't do it often, but it certainly has happened. But most of the time, yeah, you do want to also give people a good show, because if again I can completely not give a fuck, but then I'm only playing every room once ever and never again.
That was gonna be one of my questions too, was if you had a time that you remembered that you bombed really bad, but I guess it's the Montana.
Now, I mean, yeah, there's versions of bombing. It's so funny because there's versions of bombing where people are paying attention and you're just not connecting, you know? And then there's versions of bombing where they're just not paying attention. Like, I mean, I'm a road comic. I've done a lot of work on the road. It's not always glamorous clubs. Sometimes you're in really rowdy places. Sometimes you're in bars. Sometimes people are there and they didn't know comedy was going to happen. So sometimes you're fighting through people just not caring. They're not even there for that. They're not even listening, right? Which is almost better because, like, I don't know, I grew up with Catholic parents. I grew up being not listened to. It's great. Being ignored. That's fun. That I can handle. It's it's almost worse when they're paying attention and they're still just like, because if they're not listening, they don't care. There's at least like, all right, well, they're not. It's frustrating, but like, you know, they're not listening. So that's part of why they're not laughing. But if they're listening and they're not laughing, you're like, well, fuck me. I might, this is, it's, you got to have thick skin, but also you kind of, when you do it long enough, it's kind of like I mean, I'm dead inside anyway. So like it was easy for me. I could brush it off pretty easy even when I was new. But as you get more experience, you do also kind of get a batting average where you can realize like, okay, I do this a lot. I've done this a million times. I've done this in every type of crowd, big to large, small, conservative to liberal. Like I can do these crowds. I can do this. Something just didn't connect tonight. It could have been me. It could have been the audience. It could, there's factors. So like in those moments, I'm usually like, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna do a show tomorrow and it's gonna be great. So whatever.
What do you think attributed to you? You just said you were dead inside. Is that from the comedy experience or other life experiences?
I already said I grew up Catholic, so I mean that should fill in the blanks for you. The
That helps.
yeah, that helps. No, I mean I had a pretty interesting, tumultuous youth and became pretty self-resilient and self-reliant very, very early on. I mean, I moved out of my parents' house out on my own when I wasn't even 16 yet. Never went to high school a day in my life. I dropped out of school in the middle of 8th grade and moved out of my parents' house. And even before that, I was very self-reliant. So definitely, which is good and bad. It's certainly given me a resolve to grit things out and get things done in my life. It does make personal interaction, deep connections tougher to get to in life. But listen, I've gone to therapy. I get it. But the
Know exactly what to say, right?
yeah, but yeah, just I mean, my just growing up the way I grew up, I think really gave me that outlook and the dependency on myself, and kind of knowing that at the end of the day, I've got to I have other people, but also at the end of the day, I do have to depend on myself too to get things done. So, which is good, but also, you got to taper it. You got to tame that a little bit. So you're not just like some fucking lone wolf you can't be like a 40-year-old lone wolf that's just feral out there. It's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter what you're doing. You have to have kind of a at least a little bit of a support group, right? You have to have some friends or some acquaintances that are doing the same thing that's supportive because it does get lonely, man, when you decided and that was going to be my other question. If you did something happen to spark that to make that jump to be a comedian from your other gig as a consulting, did something happen or was that a progressive kind of decision?
So here's it's kind of I don't know, this might I'll try to make this some brevity in this story. So I grew up in like South Central LA, big Latino and Black area, involved in gangs, things like that. And I used to do hip hop music for a long time, and definitely lost a lot of friends throughout the years. Saw a lot of gang violence, in and out of jail, things like that. Uh, and I left LA for a couple years and got into more trouble. Came back and was kind of like free and clear, moved to a different area of town where I didn't know people and kind of restarted my life. But I got back into music, hip hop music. And, down there in LA, hip hop music is intrinsically tied to gang life. Eventually, I just saw my life going that direction again. And then we were at a party. One of my homeboys got shot and killed. And that's when I was like, I gotta stop doing music, right? Like I'm like, I'm not going to survive this if I keep down this road. And this is what I wanted to get out of. So I quit music. I moved out of Long Beach, and I started um and I ended up kind of through folly of errors doing my in this consulting gig. It just kind of fell in my lap through like a friend owned a company. I started doing some work for them. And then they were in this big office building downtown Long Beach. And people started hiring me for jobs. Next thing I know, I was kind of good at what I was doing. I was doing this consulting marketing thing, getting brought in on big meetings to like, give my thoughts. And I was getting paid very well. But again, I just didn't like it. I was bored. I wasn't creative. I was writing at the time. I had started doing open mics, and I was just like, I don't want to, I want to do this. So Really, I just yeah, I was like, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna do this. Uh, and but there wasn't really one thing. It was just me feeling like I'm just not feeling fulfilled. I mean, the money was great, but I just hated. So there's like, I'll put it this way. There's something I always say called I call it the misery index, like or misery factor, right? Where you can
Yeah.
everything ostensibly or like on paper can look really good, but if you're not, you can be making money, have some free time, you've got a good car, you've got a good house, but like if you hate what you have to get up and go do every day, all that stuff doesn't matter, right? Like all that stuff becomes no, you hate it, you don't want to do it, it becomes an obstacle to what you really love. Because what I really want to be doing was doing comedy. I really want to be writing. I really wanted to be creating. So I just gave it up and bet on myself that I would make it work. And, eventually it did. It wasn't overnight. It was an incremental crawl, but now I'm here.
Yeah, I'd like to look up the percentage of entrepreneurs that didn't finish high school, or on the other end, you got guys like me that had to go another semester longer, right? So I did 4.5 years of high school
Sure.
because I fucked up so much as a freshman. I failed, and I had it took me a half a semester to make that up, or a
Yeah.
whole semester, I guess, whatever. But it's always just fascinating to me that almost all of us are lumped into this category of we couldn't we couldn't fit into that normal. I mean, I had a pretty cush job. I just quit my job a little over a year ago, and I was a production manager at a company truck, and I couldn't take it, man.
Yeah.
Like, the owner just turned into, once we started making money there, like, "Dude, come on, man. I'm not gonna stand there and let some grown man yell at me. I'm not gonna do it. It can't. We're not gonna go there."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's early in my comedy career when I was still like I still worked other jobs, like to pay the bills. When I was doing comedy, like I had some sales gigs and stuff like that to subsidize my income. Because when you first start comedy, it's not like again, you're making nothing. If you're making anything, you're making nothing, right? It took me 10 years of doing it almost before I took the dive to do it full time. But like, cause I had this one sales gig where I sold furniture for a while, part time, right? And this guy, I remember my manager in this one meeting, he's like, this rah Saturday morning meeting. It's like, we want people who love this and love furniture. And I'm like, I hate to tell you, I am never going to have a deep passion for furniture. Like,
Ugh.
listen, like, I will sell your furniture and I am good at it, but I will never give a shit about this I will never deeply care about some fucking formaldehyde encased piece of shit, SARS ridden thing that lived on a boat in the Indian Ocean for 8 months before it was made in China. I'm not going to care. Like I don't give a shit, Linda, that your end table is on back order. You're not going to get it in time for the big cocktail party in 2 weeks. I don't care. And there's not enough time in this universe that will ever expand that I will. It
Yeah,
just,
customer service is tough, man.
it was things like that where I just like I would look around at these people who had been doing it for 20, 30 years and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, how have you not killed yourself by now? Like how you know yeah, I'm just thinking, how have you not done something else or changed your life? Or like this isn't what you didn't dream of selling lazy boys as a kid. Like what is this? So I just could, at a certain point, I remember I just was like, when I got close to where I'm like, I can almost pay my bills with just the comedy money I was making regularly, I said, fuck it. And I quit. And I'm like, I'm going to go full time. And I go, it'll put my back against the wall. It'll motivate me to make sure to get more bookings, to make sure I survive. And it'll give me all the free time to do that and all the free time to do more comedy, which will mean I'll be better at it. and it worked.
Yeah, you have to burn the boats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can't leave an option B. If you really wanna succeed and you're gonna dive into it, you have to cut it and jump in. And it's scary as shit, and it sucks. In the beginning, it's definitely gonna suck.
Yeah.
But, the reward is you get to do something you love every day. I mean, there's nothing better than that.
Well, that's the reality of it that I think is really hard for people to grasp is that people are dumb and people are dumb and they're numb and they like that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to float through life and everything is kind of out of your hands. It's like I don't really have to think a lot. Like I get up, it's my routine, I go to work. I don't like my job that much, but it makes sure I can come home and drink my mid-level vodka before while I watch this stupid sitcom that nobody cares about, and then oh, is it cake? I don't know, maybe it's cake. Is it cake? Like, and then it's like, and then they just do it again. It's scary to think about changing that because they're used to that, right? It's like this pattern, this repetition. It's not, they don't love it, but it's familiar. And it is scary to be like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to dive into the abyss. There is a lot of unknowns. It's going to be some sacrifice of money, time, things I enjoy for an unknown amount of time, right? It's an X. It could be 6 months, it could be 6 years. But the thing I always tell people is I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's 6 months or 6 years. The point is, let's say it's 6 years. At the end of 6 years, you now get to live the rest of your life doing what you love. Or you could spend the rest of your life just dreading every single day and having this low grade depression and not really loving life. It's like crawl through the shit for a little while to make sure the rest of your life is exactly what you want it to be.
Yeah, yeah. Man, and I don't know if you've worked in any, like, production facilities, but holy shit, dude. I worked at well, they made paper bags in there, and the first job you get, there's bags that come down a conveyor belt, and they're not sealed on either end. They call it a hand of bags, so you get 10 or 15 bags that come down, and you take those off the conveyor belt, and there's a 6 foot by 6 foot skid on the ground on a turntable. You stack them there, and then you stack this thing 6 feet high, and that's all you do for 12 hours is pull that pile of bags off and stack them on the skid. And this is what changed my thinking about these jobs forever, because I was talking to the guy that was doing it, and I asked him how long he was doing it, and he said 14 years. He said, I don't wanna take a bid job and upgrade because I get my pick of vacations every year. I get to pick first vacation."
Yeah. That's what he's living for. He's living for that pick a vacation. Whereas like you could figure it out and it can always be a vacation. You can pick your vacation whenever you want. I mean, that's the thing. Like I now, if I'm not I get to choose when and where I do comedy, right? I get to choose when and where I go to comic book conventions. The rest of the time is my free time and how hard I want to work. I get to spend most of my days at home, working from home, booking shows, writing, etc. But doing those are things I love. And then I'm home with my dogs, with my family, I'm like, I get to be here instead of having to go to an office, right? I mean, I did it. I remember working, like there was a time in comedy when I was kind of on the edge of, again, just starting to get booked more. And I was trying to get any gig I could to get paid. Again, I was working a sales job and I'd work until 5 o'clock Friday. And then I would have to drive 3 hours to get to the comedy club that booked me, right? And I would drive I would hightail it with just enough time to get on stage. I'm hosting, right? So I'm doing 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes up front at this point. Then after the show, because they didn't give me a hotel, I would have to drive all the way back, sleep in my bed. So I get home, there's two shows. The second show, I mean, I'm home at like probably 3 in the morning. I get up at 7 to go to work all day Saturday, then drive another 3 hours, do another two shows, drive back home to work Sunday. And then I would do that. Uh, that'd be like Thursday, Friday, Saturday night shows, right? And I would get, so in 3 nights, I get, you know, 8, 10 hours of sleep, maybe total. And I'd work. And what I got paid for that weekend was, I don't know, maybe $100, right? Like, does that seem insane to, like, imagine if someone was like, okay, what I need you to do is you're going to have to drive 3 hours. You're going to have to work 8 hours, then drive 3 hours. Then you're going to stand on stage for 8 minutes and hang around for 5 hours to do it again. And then you're going to drive 3 hours. You're going to sleep for three. You're going to work. And then be like, and they're like, oh, how much do I get paid? Like $900. They're like, we'll give you $100 and a hot dog every night. And
Yeah.
as a comedian,
Sounds
you're like,
great.
but as a comedian, you're like, yeah, can I do this every weekend? Because now I headline that club, and you get once a year. It's a good weekend. They pay you good. They put you up. The pay's okay. It could be better, but it's like, that's the type of sacrifice you front load on these things that you love to do. So,
Yeah. It's a lot of free work. It's just doing shit for free because you're not making anything in the beginning.
right.
So, I mean, even podcasting, you know how much there's a lot of work in the research and the editing and all that. There's a lot of work you're doing for free in the beginning. You don't make anything.
But yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, once again, that's the sacrifice for doing what you love to do. And
100%.
man, whenever you open that up and just let the universe do what it wants to with you. And sometimes it's not always pleasant, but if you don't fight it, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like the comic book series I'm doing, Kill Stan. You can get on inferno.earth is our website, or inferno.earth on Instagram. Give us a follow. Shameless plug. But I've always loved the medium of comic books. So when I decided I wanted to do this, I'm like, okay, I found an artist, I found a colorist, I found a letterer, and I put this book together. And before I even paid to print the book, I had already paid my creative team $4,000. I invested, with printing, probably like $5,500 into the first. That's just one issue. So I mean, that's the investment I made on this thing I love so much that I always wanted to do. And now subsequently, I've made that money back and then some on that first issue. But I haven't actually drawn a salary from the book yet. Everything I do goes back into the book and expanding the business, the company. So, because luckily I'm fortunate enough to have other income, but I invested in the project because I loved it, because I believe in it, and because it's something I wanted to do. And that's the type of thing that people need to think about. It's like, maybe I don't take a vacation this year. Maybe I invest in the thing that I always wanted to do, so I can take a vacation I want to anytime. Like, I remember years ago, I was writing a show with these guys. We were working on this sitcom and it didn't end up really going anywhere. But two of the guys I was writing with, they were not comedy guys, but they were buddies of mine, and I wanted to work with them. So I kind of brought them in to do this show with me. And we only had time to really work on it where we were all free Sundays and Monday evenings, right? And we did that for a whole summer. And I wrote this whole first season. And then football season came, and one of my buddies, the guys who worked on it, was a big football fan, right? Big Seahawks fan. And he wanted to watch all the Seahawks games, and made so Sundays and Mondays were tough, right? And I told him, I'm like, listen, man, what I'm trying to do here is that I go, what if I offered you this deal? What if someone, not me, what if someone came to you and said, hey, instead of watching every Seahawks game this year, you only get to watch 6 of them, but, and then maybe next year you only got You have to watch 6. So the next couple years, you only get to watch 6 or 7 games or something, maybe 5 one season, maybe 8 whatever. You don't get to watch them all. But then in 6 years, you get to have box seat season tickets at the stadium, at CenturyLink Stadium or whatever it's called now. I go, would you take that deal? And he goes, yeah, fuck yeah, I would. And I go, that's what I'm trying to do for us right now. We need to sacrifice now, and we need to not, Sundays and Mondays instead of watching football, we work. We don't get to watch everything we want to do everything we want to do. But in 6 years, or again, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, we have this freedom that becomes exponential.
Yeah, that's great, man. And that reminds me of I used to listen to Bob Proctor a lot, and he always says that sacrifice is giving up something of a lesser value for something of a greater value later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
that's what we're doing.
yeah. And what people need to realize is it's not even like, it's even crazier than that, because it's not like you're putting a coin in a savings account that's going to gain interest for later. It's a coin that you're putting into, it's like, you're putting it into
Wishing well.
a wishing well, or like a fucking casino slot machine. You know, you may end up with nothing back. You may end up having to go borrow money and go into debt and end up, fucking sucking dick in an alleyway to pay off debts or something to try. Who knows? You don't know. So it could go.
Yeah.
So you never know. It's like it's sacrificing something now to hopefully get something better later. And what happens in
Yeah.
between could be a lot of different things, but it is worth it, because at the end of the day, if you push hard enough, you'll probably get there. And even if you don't, something else is going to happen that'll good will come of it. And I mean, the last thing you want to do is get to the end of your life and be like, gee, I wish no one gets to the end of their life and be like, man, I really wish I would have sold more love seats. I just, you know what? I really wish I could have, made a more impact on someone's life by getting them their ottoman on time. Like that's last words no one has ever fucking said, right?
Oh, for sure. Where did Kill Stan come from? I meant to ask you that too.
Well, so the story, it's I call it a suicidal ride through a vigilante's last stand. It's the story about a guy who wants to end his own life, so he decides to do it through vigilantism. So, he's not fighting. Yeah, he's not fighting crime altruistically. He's doing it selfishly because
Mhm.
he wants someone else to kill him because he can't bring himself to do it. So, which creates another internal conflict. He already hates himself, and now this other, people start to revere him as a hero, which, more self-loathing. There's a lot of layers here. The concept came in 20 January of 2020. My best friend, another comedian, took his own life, and then that rolled into COVID, right? COVID happened in,
Uh,
March of 2020. So by the time that was kind of starting to come, temperature on the suicide was starting to come down a little bit, and that was starting to even out. I mean, not even even out, I say, just that took a long time. But that rolled into COVID, which was you kind of watched everyone lose everything and their lives start to break apart, whether financially, spiritually, mentally, in every single way. People were really crumbling, right? Losing themselves. And it it really made me look at things and think, man, if you really didn't have anything left to live for, if you really wanted to end it all and like had just nothing mattered to you, like how crazy could it get? What could you do? Would you be capable of? Could you be capable of? And I kind of took that idea and let it ruminate and started pushing, because in a comic book you have some room to push it a little more extreme than real life, although the story is very grounded in reality. There's no mystical superhero stuff. It's just kind of vigilante, so it's very, very real life stuff. but you push the extremes. So I'm like, all right, well, this guy wants to end his own life. So he was going to, instead of like suicide by cop, it's suicide by vigilanteism. And I took that idea and ran with it. And then, yeah, story kind of just exploded from there. So
Yeah, I like that, man. I have to check that out. Do you see a book coming in the future about that? Like, you know how all the Spider-Mans and all these characters that you can buy a hardcover book. Do you see something like that coming?
no, I wouldn't write a book about, whether fictionalized or nonfiction about it. No, I don't think so. What I am going to do when the series is, it's a 10 issue series. So when it's done, I'm going to do a, like director's cut basically, where we're going to have a large, oversized hardcover. I'm going to add a lot of notes in it. So it'll be the whole collection of all 10 issues, but some extra bonus features, some extra bonus art, a lot of annotation from me about the issues and why I wrote it like this, where that inspiration came from. So there will be some of that, kind of a version of that in a way, but not like a book version of the series. No.
What's the app coming up? Is there anything else you want to plug? You got some good projects coming?
Yeah, yeah. So as far as my comedy, you can go to deececomedy.com, check out all my live dates, or follow me on deece.comedy on Instagram. I post everything there. I got a lot of shows coming up around, a lot in Texas, but other places too. So just hit the calendar, follow me. Well, I post all my dates all the time. As for the comic book, go to inferno.earth is our website, or inferno.earth is also the Instagram page. And I post everything there, updates. You can, number 3 of Kill Stand is coming in the next couple weeks. And number 1 and 2 are available for purchase on our website. You can buy physical copies or digital downloads of those we'll send to you. And also, if you want to watch my comedy special, Not Your Cup of Tea, it's a special I released a couple years ago. Really funny stuff. One of my favorite things I did. It is available. If you go to my website, click the Not Your Cup of Tea link. It'll take you to a PayPal link. You can and you can pay whatever you want. It's donation only, and leave your email. We'll send you the digital download to the 1 hour special. You can pay whatever you want, $5, $10. You can even pay $1. It's a dick move, but you'll still get the special. So go go check it out. And yeah, that's a lot of material I don't do anymore. Some of my favorite stuff, though, some really whole hour of me talking shit.
That's awesome though, man. That's a cool way to do that. To just whatever you want to pay me something and you can watch
Yep.
it. That's
Yep. I figured that'd be the best, easiest way.
yeah. And I love your story, dude. It's super inspiring because so many times, like we were talking earlier, people get stuck in this shit job that they hate and they tell you they hate it every day. And they just stay there because of whatever reason. Health insurance, vacation, whatever it is, and they don't see another way out. And I think we all have our own way out, right? We just need to find that. Some of us takes us a little bit longer than others, but we all have our own way out. Man, I hope everybody finds it.
100%.
At least my friends and family, I'm hoping they find their way. I know they all think I'm nuts for quitting my job, but
Hey, it's a great first step to accomplishing everything you want to do.
yeah, yeah. It was great to have you on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you.